You've reached Monster 911, and I'm Lance Hightower. I've been taking cryptid emergency calls for over 5 years. If you have a cryptid emergency, please call our toll-free number, 866-306-8085. I can help you. What's your emergency? Welcome back, everyone, to today's show, the fifth and last show in this series, War with Dogman. I'm Lance Hightower, your host, with this True Creature Encounter podcast channel, and you're listening to Monster 911. And be sure to follow us on the various social media platforms listed below in the description, as well as visit our website at www.monster911.com. Before we begin today's show, if you've had an unusual creature experience and you're a bit timid to share, I understand. My brothers and I were the same way, but we had each other. We had our own experiences. So let's talk. Call our toll-free number, 1-866-306-8085, and I'll personally return your call. As always, all names are kept confidential, and all reports are treated with respect and sensitivity. And before we begin tonight's show, parents, as I've said previously, please use some discretion with these shows. There is some graphic content and language, and it might be much or a bit much for young ears to listen to. Tonight's show, Show 5, our guest continues with his and his colleagues' observation of these dogman creatures, how they hunt, how they kill their prey, their hunting range, how they behave, act, think, and reason, as well as the various run-ins with the dark state agents we call the MIBs. And be sure to tune in for our next show series, the Kansas Bigfoot. People don't stand behind what they believe, and if they don't like it, they want credit for everything.
Exactly.
And I get so tired of that. I get so tired of people not having some man up, you know.
Exactly. And that's what I say. Exactly. That's what I tell people. I told somebody this today. I told my wife. I said, when the cops were there and they were trying to like twist everything around, I said, "Listen, dickhead." I told the cop. I said, "Listen, I'm a man, and you know who the I am. You really think I'll tell you right now? I've had a few drinks, and I just decided to beat up a random dude and drag him into my house. None of that happened. I don't drink. None of that happened. So I'm a man of my word. I'll tell you if I hit him first. Damn right I hit him first. He crawled through my back window when my kids were upstairs, dressed in a fucking ski mask like a movie. Are you kidding me? With black gloves? What?
No
he
kidding.
He looks like an assassin. Like, are you fucking? He looks like the definition of, look at me, I'm a criminal burglar. Like, look at me. I got black gloves on and a fucking ski mask from Walmart. You still have the Walmart tag on it.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, yeah, idiot.
Oh,
I blew his fucking knees out, broke both his collarbones. They were sticking out of his chest. Oh, it was bad. Very bad. Not for me, but for him. The fact that my kids were there, and he kept trying to get upstairs. Like when we were fighting, he was trying to crawl upstairs.
Really?
Like he was trying anything to get up there to my kids, to use them, and you go fucking I'm going to fucking kill him. Like one of them type of situation. And I wasn't letting that happen. That's when I blew his knees out, because his knees were like right near my chest. I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? That's what I was thinking. My girlfriend actually popped her head around the corner and was watching. And she said, she's like, it was scary, blah, blah, blah. You're so serious. Like, she's like, that's the difference. She finally got to see what it's like for someone who does this 24/7 compared to the guy whose adrenaline's up through the roof. He has no control over his emotions. He's flailing his arms everywhere, and I'm just slowly breaking his body down, piece by piece. Knee, another knee, second later, both collarbones, pull collarbones out as far as I can, so it's sticking out of his chest like a bird. By then, he's passing out, from shock, and I'm keeping him alive, basically, smacking him, and I zip-tied him.
That's just bizarre that he kept wanting to go upstairs. Come on.
Upstairs. He tried.
My
wife said that. She's like, he didn't really even fight back at one point. He just wanted to get the up the stairs.
That's
right up the stairs.
That's weird.
When you see my wife, it was like something turned, like, I'm in the right place. I'm going to get up there, do my job, and then if he kills me, he kills me. I'm going to do my job, and I'm going to get killed anyways. That's almost like it was when he was in bad shape when they came and got him, and the cops were, like, flipping everything around, and I Like I said, I'm a man, and if I was to go out and just beat an innocent person, which would never happen in a million years, I'm a man. I'll tell you right now when I'm wrong. Yeah, that's not good. I don't know why I did that. Yeah, I'm wrong, but I wasn't wrong, and I'm not gonna trick myself or have you, Joey, down and eating pop, tell me, trick me. It's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah, I'm sure that
they don't like that.
No,
they jumped out with AR-15s and a canine. State cops were like, "What? He told you he had him subdued and hogtied." Well, yeah. Oh yeah, still jumped out with everything. You know, look at me,
brother. Oh my God.
The dude didn't even have his finger on the trigger. He didn't like that because I'm like, what were you gonna do? He's like, "Excuse me, sir. Excuse me." I said, "Excuse me. Your finger's not even on the trigger." And he looked at me and was like, "Well, okay, asshole." And the other cop like shook his head and he put his finger on the trigger. So there you go. It's not a hair trigger, I hope. He was like shaking and shit. They actually kind of laughed at that because the guy was shaking real bad.
Oh, was he really?
He had the gun pointed at me, and he's like shaking so bad. And I said, "I hope it's not a hair trigger." He wasn't even holding. He didn't even have his finger near the trigger. He was just holding the grip, pointing the gun at me, shaking like crazy. I'm just staring at him, giving him a 100-yard stare on purpose, trying to break him down more. And it's working. And they knew it was working. The other cops were like, "Stop looking at him. Stop doing that." And he was like shaking. I'm like, "Stop doing what?" Looking at the guy, and I was like, just keep staring at him, shaking my head. He was having a legit nervous breakdown where he was standing. Finally, I'm like, "You know what? Now I got you. I see how you reacted. I'm going to play on that." So I started telling him shit. I said, "You know who I am, right?" I said, "I never play this card, ever in a million years. Never will I ever play this card. I get pulled over by a cop." My brother always, he laughs about that. I get pulled over by a cop. I don't say that I'll tell you what I do. I just, "Hey, I was speeding." "Yeah, why?" "Well, because I was speeding." "I don't know." I was on a rush, I guess. Right. That's it. Give me the ticket, okay? You know, going my way. I'm not going to play the bullshit. I'm not doing it. I don't feel like it. I'm not sucking anyone's dick or kissing anyone at all, you know, for anything. It's not going to happen. And so I just basically scared the out of the kid. I was just telling him, I said, "You know, I'll tell you who I am." I started telling him, and he's like shaking his head, and then he starts feeling bad. So he felt bad because he's like, "Wait a minute, what are you, blah, blah, blah." And I started telling him, he's like, "My dad, actually." "Oh, I don't know that." I'm like, you know, paid off that. You like arresting patriots that are just protecting my kids? Does that make you sleep better at night? You know, that you can sit there and point a gun at someone who's keeping your ass safe, you know, just throwing that out there.
Right.
And he like looked at me, and he's like put his head down. And he was like seriously getting in the head. I mean, I was with him.
Really?
It was working. And my wife's like in disbelief. She's like, What are you doing to him?" She's like, "He's like ready to cry." I said, "He was like that when he first showed up. I don't know." I said, after that, I just worked on it. And he ended up taking the handcuffs off me and everything. I had a handcuff key in my. They're so dumb. They pat me down. They didn't pat my chest. I got a knife strapped to my chest, and I have 2 different blades. I have 6 blades on my body. Little tiny ones, all the way to big ones. I got 2 guns. Like I said, that's not to be, "Oh, look at me, I'm carrying all this shit." I don't want anyone to know that I have anything. I don't want anyone to know I have anything until the shit happens.
I totally agree. I'd rather not people know if I've got something or not.
I was just going to say that. People walk around Walmart with their gun hanging out. Are you dumb? When I come in there and rob the pharmacy and you're standing there with your kid and I see you with that gun, I'm going to think, "Gun, I'm killing you right now before you even, I don't care who you are. I just see a gun."
Your target.
And then me standing behind the guy with the gun underneath my shirt is just going to be like, "Oh, no, please don't," and then blow his brains out. He's dead because he wanted to be a hard ass, trailer park trash with his fucking gun sticking out. Look at me with my high point $100 9mm. I'm sorry, I went into rant mode there, but
no, I saw that this past week. I went into Walmart to grab some some type of oil or something, and I went in there, and there was a guy right there walking with his wife and kid, and he had his Kydex camo, digital camo with his Glock. That's just
look at me.
Look at me,
look
man.
At me. I got a gun.
Yeah, I'm a big man. I can go into Walmart with it.
Oh, it's just sickening. I actually had to take a gun off of someone one time, and I smacked them with it in the face and broke their nose. A young kid. He was like, in fact, I didn't even do one tour yet. I was halfway through my training. There was a guy that was in the training. He had a gun. He just a dickhead, and he started like running his mouth, and he pointed the gun at me. He said, I was not at it, blah, 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 blah. I never really talked to the dude, nothing. He was just an asshole. I just grabbed the gun off of him. First, I'm like, just do it. You won't do it. You won't do it, pussy. I want him to try to pull the trigger. Get angry. Start shaking. Let me get closer to you. I guess what I did. I mean, he was like 2 feet away from me. Now, that's it. And he's still, they all shake. When it starts getting serious, they'll shake. They will shake. Everyone will. Your adrenaline starts going. Mm-hmm. So you learn how to control it. And I hear people like, yeah, I'm a hunter. Learned how to control it. And your adrenaline's super. Imagine you just get into a wreck and your adrenaline pumping out of your chest, and then try to calm that down. Now, there's no way. You gotta teach. That's serious training. I mean, they make you go to you gotta close your eyes, and it's all it's intense. I mean, they put you in near-death experiences, and they'll shoot rounds off by your ear, bury you up to your chest in mud, do all kinds of stuff, and then put a wet burlap sack on top of your head, and then put the water. Pour the water in your head. So you're getting waterboarded, but you're stuck in mud up to your neck. And, you learn how. Once you get through that, and then you can tell me that you can control your adrenaline to the point that I'm not shaking no more. My heart's pounding, but I'm not shaking. And I'm still focused when I kind of block it out. But sorry about that.
No. You would have to. No, I totally agree, man. You. That's something that not many people ever experience, and so that's why I tell people. I said, it's kind of like in a small way, but it's knowing your firearm. Everybody thinks bigger is better and all this. I said, look, the only way you want to get good is you got to sleep with your firearm. You got to shoot it 10,000 times. You got to break it down, put it together, break it down, put it together.
Yep.
I said, that's when you're just getting good. I said, grabbing a gun from Walmart with the tag on it, think you're big and bad. I said, so when you add adrenaline in there and you see one of these things coming, I said, you're going to go down about 50% on your shooting ability or less. I said, so don't think that you're going to hit your mark, and I said that's a lie.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And then what happens when you hit your mark? You've never shot anything like this, and your bullets aren't anything capable of taking it down with one shot, and it keeps coming, and you start missing, and you're shooting its legs, and it's zipping by his ear, and by then he's got you by the throat. Your head's going. Seems to be a thing. That's what I wanted to tell you too.
Yeah, please go ahead. That's what I wanted.
I've noticed this, and this is a proven fact between me and my buddies that have watched this. One second. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Sorry about that. I'm up. Obviously, you probably know where I'm at. I'm up in the crow's nest. Thing probably was a Dogman that just walked by. Something just walked by. Yeah. But you can almost tell to the point anymore. I can always tell which. I could never be able to tell you if I've never seen a Sasquatch. I'll be the first to tell you. I've never seen one, never heard one, never seen any signs around here. I wouldn't really know the signs. Honest to God, I wouldn't. The Dogman, I would. I've studied these things. I know. But a Sasquatch, I would never seen one, never anything. But I can tell. Some people be like, it's a coyote. You think it's a coyote? They hear something run by, a deer. You can tell when a Dogman runs by because it's a very distinct feeling. You feel it, but it's not like, I hear a lot of these people like, when you get this feeling of dread when I see it. The feeling of dread is normal because you're looking at a monster you thought didn't exist. So you're going to have a feeling of dread.
Mm-hmm.
The feeling of dread, that's what some people, I was listening to one of the guys like, when I seen it, I got this terrible feeling of dread. Well, no shit. I get that every time I see him. Look at the thing. You're looking at something that doesn't exist, something that's in Van Helsing. The movie.
Well, that's what Wiley on our team, he was our sixth interview, and he said, he's killed about 10,000 coyotes. That's what he did for a living. And,
yeah.
And when he told me, he said, he goes, everybody's asked me 1,000,000 times, and I keep telling him, just paint one of those Van Helsing werewolves black, stand it up, have it come running in, and then stand up at 400 meters, and that's what the hell I saw.
Yep, he's exactly right. That is identical. That's it. That is it.
And he said, when he zoomed in from 10 power to 24 power on the mil-dot reticle scope, he said, I just saw saliva coming off the gums like crazy. And I could see the ears flicking back and forth because what he did, and this is I got so many questions, man, but one of the things that Wiley did, the guy on our team, he designs coyote calls. Designs coyote calls, and he was fairly successful in it. And he designed a coyote call of a different megahertz. It's like a sound of a larger animal in distress, not the high pitch that typically you call coyotes with. But this one is this will bring the hair on the back of your neck up. It's kind of one of those things, and you can tell it's got low and high pitches with it. Well, the first time he used it is when he went out to western Oklahoma, and that came in. He wasn't using it not even 5 minutes, and it came out from about 1,000 yards. So
I believe it.
So I'm curious. There's definitely a canine predator affinity to sounds.
Oh, definitely. I can tell you that right now. People, you'll believe this. Anyone else would be. You know how I know this is my one buddy. He's kind of a joker, right? He likes to joke. Mm-hmm. He got tired one day. He has a potato gun he made. He's kind of a redneck. He gets into. I like guns too. But we put a soccer ball in it. Not a soccer ball. A tennis ball. And the Dogman was out there. He shot the ball. We heard him, but we didn't see him. We knew he was there, and we knew if we wanted to look at him, we could have seen him through the scopes. We knew he was there. We didn't care. You shoot the thing out, and we hear it stop. Scared the shit out of it. It stopped. And you hear the ball way out there, just real quick. And you heard it sounded like a train going through the woods. There was no stealth. It sounded like a train. And that was it. You didn't hear anything. Hours go past. My buddy, he's like, all right, I'm going to go down here, do this. I said, okay, you opened up the latch. What do you know? There's the tennis ball sitting there. That's a dog. You just played fetch with the Dogman.
Holy mackerel.
You just played fetch with the Dogman. Now, either he's super smart, and he's like, just bringing it back to you, like, hey, I'm just letting you know how smart I am. Or, hey, I'm here, I'm giving it back to you. Or he's a dog, and he's like, hey, I'm bringing it back. Throw it again. So what we're going to do, every time that rounds, we're going to do that. Or do something like that.
That's
crazy. We brought a female dog. In heat. That was in heat by a farmer next door. And my buddy just happened to say, hey, you think we should take this dog over for tonight? And we have dogs there. And they'd be just going crazy, And they were all night. They were trying to get there. We were trying every time we get near there, and she was chained up. All of a sudden, all the dogs flipped out. Instantly. So they're like barking at this, almost like they're biting themselves. It's weird.
Really?
Weird. Almost like a loud noise, but not like somebody was playing. I don't know. It was weird. They were like biting themselves and shit. It was really weird. Like they were getting stung by bees almost. That's what it looked like. They were getting stung by bees. That's what it looked like. That'd be the closest thing. You know how they'd be like biting from left to right, jumping up and down? That's what they did real quick. It was only like couple seconds. And then they all just like, put their ears down and sat down. The female starts going in circles. She's not doing any of that. She's going in circles, jumping, panting. Now she's in heat. And all you hear is like heavy breathing, like raspy, thick monster breathing. That's what we call it, monster breathing. We hear it every now and then. And that's the big boy. He has you can always hear him breathing. He sounds different. You never hear, he's the biggest one. He's black. Biggest one, I think I told you about him a little bit. But it's the biggest one. And he's got like this, like the hair on his shoulders and shit. Almost looks like a short sleeve. I don't know if I told you that.
Yeah, you did. You said he was about 750 on poundage?
Yep. Yeah, he has to be at least, 720, 750. Has to be. He's a try. You wouldn't say that. Muscle weighs more than fat. It's what people, it does. And when you see something that big, it's, okay, well, maybe that could weigh 400 or 500 pounds. When it steps on a car, and the whole car, an SUV, the whole car bottoms out. That's when you know, okay, holy. Well, we took two people that would equal 600 pounds and sat them on the car. They did not do that. It was a Jeep Grand Cherokee Hemi, 5.7 Hemi. That's what it stood on top of.
Jeez.
It stood on the hood. And so we took two dudes, put them right on the hood. It did not even come close. It didn't come close.
You know, Wiley said that this looked like the Van Helsing wolf. Just put it black. And I believe him because I know him. I know him now. And you can just tell when people are, you can hear it in their voice like we talked about last time.
Definitely.
So in your opinion, you've seen this now. It seems like you and your guys, your team have seen this a million times, these creatures. In your best, I'm trying to still wrap my mind's eye around this. Would you say that Wiley is 1,000% correct or 85% correct, or how do they look? Is it
1,000? Okay, I can say 1,000 because it does look, but not almost 1,000. I'd say probably. I'd probably say like 98% accurate. That's what it looks like. Especially from a distance like that, seeing it. Oh, definitely. I could just picture it right now. I could just see it. The way did he say were the legs backwards? Were they inverted?
Yeah, he said when he saw it, the terrain out there in western Oklahoma is kind of, it's when you look at it from afar, it looks just flat. But when you get right up to it, you have these rolling hills, sand hills with a lot of sagebrush. So you've got about 2.5, 3 foot of sage and ryegrass. The landscape is kind of gray, brown, tan. That's it.
Yeah.
Well, anything black sticks out like a sore thumb. So he saw he saw this thing out about 1,000 yards, and it was zigzagging around the these trees out there. It was coming in kind of a zigzag motion. And
that's what they do. Zigzag.
Do they really?
Yeah, that's funny. He said that. That's weird. They'll never come in straight. Never.
I was going to say they don't come in linear. They came in on a zigzag motion.
Yep, they will always come in a zigzag. They will never come straight. That's why I tell people you will never see one of these things usually run diagonal across a field. It will not do that. It will run along the field. It will run along. In the olden days, you see these little strips. I think they call them I don't know what the name is, a proper name. Little strips that are in between wheat fields and stuff, but they're little strips of woods, little tiny.
Yeah, like windbreaks.
Yeah, exactly. And back in the olden days, they use those. Yeah, exactly. They'll run along that. So whatever the shape is of that, they're not running to the center of that field. No way. They're going to run along it. So they'll run along it, just like how I would do if I was going to attack someone, basically. Now, they're zigzagging because they're using their speed. I wouldn't do that, but they're, they're...
Well, that was interesting because I was thinking if I was an animal like that size and had intelligence, I wouldn't come linear. I would be zigzagging so you couldn't get a beat on me.
Exactly. Yep.
That's strange. So he said it basically got to it dipped down it came off a dry river wash that's about 3/4 of a mile long, and it jumped down about 4 feet. Now in the middle of this dry riverbed that's about 75 feet across, It got
to
to
a jump. Did he happen to know if it jumped on 2 feet?
It was
like a human.
Okay, it came in on all fours. It jumped. Nope. It landed kind of on its front feet. Came and then it got to that river wash bottom, and it stood up.
Oh yeah.
And then that's when he went, "What the?" And
yep.
And then he said it stood up and it was kind of bouncing. It had the dog hawks. It had the reverse hawk, the reverse knee, had the dog hawks, and it had paws, he said, that looked like huge raccoon hands but had claws.
That's what my buddy says that so many times. He's like, are you sure this isn't like an overgrown raccoon? Because the hands, they look like huge raccoon hands. But, like he said, exactly, yeah.
And he said that the chest was built. He said this thing had nothing over Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Oh yeah.
This thing was huge, and he said it was built like it was like 4 feet across. He checked his meal dot twice and looked down and checked it again. He said, "Son of a," and then he said the eyes were yellow or amber.
Yep, amber.
And he
yellow
said,
too. The older ones are yellow, I think. That's what we think. The older ones are yellow because when we hit them with the eye shine, they'll come up orange. They'll usually come up orange and then yellow. Yellows are always in the back. These are the older ones. So that's what we're thinking. For the wolves, the older ones stay in the back. The alpha stays in the back, until they attack. And then the alpha will go head first, but that's what we're thinking.
Well, he said this. Here's the thing that just blew my mind, and this was the first time he had done a couple shows, and I think ours was the fourth. What really piqued my interest and blew my mind is when he said he was sniffing, and he was on a higher ridge, and he had the wind in his favor. While he said, you always want the wind in your favor, he says, but the wind changed direction. It was blowing about 2 miles an hour, and he was up higher. And this thing, after about 30 seconds, just standing up, sniffing, looking, sniffing, and its ears were twitching, trying to find the sound. And Wiley said, I'm not going to call that again. So he said it was like something stuck a hot poker in it. It took off across him on 2 legs. It had its tail. This is the thing that just blew my mind. He said it took off on 2 legs. It jumped up above that 4 feet. It jumped down 4 feet, but jumped up like it was nothing. Its tail was sticking straight out, like stiff as a board. And I asked him how it ran. He said, well, it didn't have its legs going back and forth, pitter-patter, kind of like Usain Bolt. It actually has a bounce and leaping.
That's what I was trying. They don't run like humans. That's why when people say they can, but it's not what they like. When people say in some stories, it was running just like a human next to me. No, that's impossible. It was leaping. It'll run and run. It's almost like a monkey sometimes when they start going real fast. It'll use its arms. The arms are a little bit longer, like they're very long. That's what people don't get. The arms are long, very long, so they use them. So when they're running, they'll take their left arm and hit the ground. Boom. And it's almost like they're projecting themselves. Like you said, it's weird. They have a couple different ways, I've noticed. The females run different from the males. They're not as like that. The males are very...
You know what a guy told me one time? He said this was a guy in Tennessee, and he is our sculptor now. No one is sculpting these things, and we got the idea. This guy's self-taught. He is incredibly gifted, and he's a paramedic. And so I said, his name is Rob. I said, Rob, we have to start sculpting these things because no one knows what this person's talking about. I mean, they can talk about it, but seeing it is another thing. Yeah, he said he believes it was a juvenile running down a logging road, and it was coming up his drive. And he was out in the middle of Tennessee, and he said, Lance, I saw a pack of coyotes behind it about 20 to 30 feet. The coyotes, and they were just kind of galloping. He goes, but this thing was out front, and it was running different. And I said, like how? And he said, you know how these hyenas run? It was somewhere like how a gorilla and a hyena was pulling itself.
Yep.
And I said, yeah. He says, it was like that. And it had a lion's mane, and then it got out about 65 yards just outside of his chain link fence, broad daylight, and it stopped. And he's like, what the hell? So he's looking, and this thing, he saw it take a dump. And how it took a dump, though, was odd. He said it got into, and the coyotes are going freaking crazy behind, but never getting close.
They go crazy.
He said this thing squatted down like a man. Its tail came up, almost hitting the back of its head, and it dumped right there, and its arms kind of came up a little bit. And he said it was the craziest thing he's ever seen in his life. It's nothing.
Wow, that's one thing I can say. I haven't seen. I've seen it piss a lot, but I've never. And they do piss different ways. Like they'll piss almost like a dog or like a. They have some kind of gland. If they spray like a tiger or like a lion or a big cat out their ass, they'll spray their urine out their ass somehow. But they piss. They got a dick. They piss. It's just like a dog. But yeah, I've never seen one of them take a dump. that's crazy.
Yeah,
that would make sense. That would make perfect sense.
That episode is. I just titled it what the guy told me. I saw Dogman take a dump.
That's crazy. Now I've seen their poop in trees. We took drones up in the tree scene. We even caught their poop one time because they're massive animals, and that's a lot of heat, and it'll set the heat thing off, and we'll be able to see it, and the drone will pull it, and that's it. And we know if it's in a tree, it's small. We can tell it's small. And sometimes we're like, what is it? It could be a raccoon because this thing's so sensitive. Is it?
So they'll
Yeah, a big pile of dump right up there. And my buddy goes, you gotta be fucking kidding me. And I said, what is it? He goes, raccoon shit. I said, raccoon shit is as big as a freaking watermelon. I mean, not one shit as big as a watermelon, but it was like a pile as big as a huge watermelon.
Whoa.
A pile. There's a lot. That's a big animal, eats a lot of food, and I figured they had to dump a lot, and we started seeing, but they're weird. They cover their shit usually. That's why it was 80 feet up in a tree where they shit at, which is weird why they did that. That's probably a juvenile, like he said, because an adult, oh no, he would have hid that shit. Because they don't want, the only reason people see them is because they want you to see them. Now, we're good at it now, but these things just disappear. I mean, it's like they have a ghillie suit on, but it's like, this is what I always tell people, man can wear ghillie suits and disappear as good as they want, but an animal doesn't even need a ghillie suit and they can disappear because that's an animal. It's part of nature. It's part of nature. It's blending in with. That's what it's supposed to be doing. A man in a ghillie suit's not supposed to be in the woods hiding, not naturally. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So they can and people are like, how do they they can just disappear in thin air? No, they're not. They're there. They're there. They're just 10 feet in front, in a different direction, looking at you, and they do that. They'll stop. They'll go 10 feet and stop. Go 10 feet and stop. And if they get pissed off or angry, they'll just bolt off. I mean, they smash everything. That's another thing we hate. We actually have a maintenance guy, which that's a whole. We had to have this maintenance guy. We needed somebody to come through and clean up, like broken glass. We can't be. It's to the point now. We can't be. I'm there to protect you. I'm not here to clean.
Oh, absolutely.
And I'm not sitting there getting out drills and doing all this shit. No. You got the money. Hire somebody. Well, we got to get a clearance. Oh, well, that's your shitty job, huh? I'm not doing that. You think I'm going to clean up and cut your yard? No. Well, what are you going to do? They get this Mexican guy come in. He's wearing pink, for God's sake. He's super flamboyant. He looks like a big pink steak sitting out there. You take a guy like that.
Gosh.
Why would you even... And that just shows the incompetence of the people down the ladder. That just shows you right there. Some chick, some feminist bullshit chick, was like, you know what? Everyone needs rights. You went through the military, and you did really good in the military. You never went to war or anything, but you climbed the ladder, and you got out. You want to take this job? It's like a high-paid chef. Almost like the chefs and the maintenance that work at the White House and stuff like that. They all need cleared, and they watch them and everything and make sure that they're not going to bring guns or whatever. And this guy, I don't know. He's been there in the day, and he keeps saying, what's... At first, he was very excited, too excited. Then he's seen us, and he started getting a little nervous. And then he asked me, he's like, what are you guys here for? You there?
Yeah, I'm here.
I'm sorry, I heard something like
No.
static, on my phone. But he's like, what are you guys here for? Well, we're security. Oh, he must be he starts speaking like Spanish. He must be like a big muchacho. He's like going on and on. And I'm like, yeah. I said, listen, dude, are you sure you want to do this? And he's like looking at me, and he's like, of course, blah, blah, blah. I said, enough with the bullshit. Are you serious? Because you're going to, have you ever shot a gun? Oh, yeah, I was in the military. I said, okay, here. And I handed him my gun. And he takes it and looks at it. It's a SOCOM M14. That's what I had on me. And he's looking at it. Looking at it. And I'm like, what are you doing? He's like looking at it. He's playing with the clip. I just took it back from him. My buddy looks at him and goes, what are you trained in? M16. And hands him an M16. His M16. The guy's like, yeah. And he's just holding it, looking at us. And he's like, well, no, I didn't really. We used like 22s and stuff. That's what they use. Pellet guns. High-powered pellet guns with CO2. The CO2 pellet guns, which you can kill deer and shit with them, but not that type of pellet gun. The pellet gun they were using is like, you buy at Walmart.
Oh, my
God. And that just goes to show you the military, where it's going. Yeah, right now, you go in the Air Force, you start out with pellet guns. Oh, no, and then they work their way up to 22s. No, not the Marines, not the Army. In fact, wait a minute. The Army might be doing it now. But the Air Force and, the Coast Guard. Start out with that, and now it's a minimum. Everybody's got to sleep a minimum of 7 hours. Are you kidding me? In basic training, you've got to have a minimum of 7 hours, and these kids keep killing themselves, and these drill instructors keep killing themselves at the school. Like when they're going through their basic training, they're killing themselves because they can't take it. And so that brings in more people. So now we need to be more emotional and more sensitive. No, you need to brief these kids that are 15 years old and all they did was play video games. They want to go in here and think this is cool, so they join the Marine Corps. They're smart, very smart, but all they do is play video games, so they score high. So they get thrown in there with, okay, you're going to be an assassin. No, you can't not do that. Some people you just cannot mold. I can take the nerdiest guy and turn him into a badass in everybody else's standards, but if you put him in war, he's still going to fold just like everybody else.
Well, you hit a good point. I know people say you can become anything you want, and that there is some truth in that statement to a certain degree here in America. It's the best place. But here's the thing. The fact of the matter is, you may not be good at it. There's an old saying that says, as you get older, the worst thing in life is to realize you got good at doing the wrong thing.
Exactly.
So what you need to do is realize that, find out what you're good at. It may not be.
Stick with it.
And stick with it. Don't try to do something that's against your grain, your core of who you are.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's what you're exactly right. Like, I understand a lot of these people want to go out and try all this new stuff, but they get themselves killed or hurt when it comes to stuff. This is serious shit. Your whole life is going to change when you do this. I mean, back in 2008, you can look this up. All you have to do is type in on Google. You can type in Blackwater, Assassin, CIA, Blackwater, CIA. What the CIA did was, George Bush said, he turned his head to this. He was like supposed to be involved with this, but he said he never seen anything, obviously. CIA gave infinite funds to Blackwater. Gave them that, infinite funds, and turned them into an assassin squad. They started picking them and turning them into pure assassins. That's what their job is. You are now a CIA assassin affiliate. And the CIA, you are not part of the CIA. So guess what? You can't get saved. You're not going to get pulled out. You're not going to you're a hitman basically in real life too, but for the law. But the law is going to throw you under the bus if it comes down to it. And if they need a fall guy and you happen to be around and you just did your mission by killing that guy, guess what? And you just happen to run out of the building, and the plan that you thought was you were going to go out of there smoothly, jump in here and get out of the country, and you run into a whole bunch of Russian police officers, hundreds of them. You know, that's they're leaving you out to dry for a reason. That's what it just.
Wow.
It's very, very, and people got wind of this. It's intense. I mean, it's very well. They think that was nothing. That's the funny part. They think that that's like something. Oh my God, that's nothing. Are you kidding me? That's the first stage. What they read in that, all them dudes there, those weren't even tier 1 guys. They were just high-paid, like, infantry grunts that got out of the military and did that. These weren't Navy SEALs. These weren't paid assassins. They trained them to be assassins. They turned them into hitmen, but they weren't trained for that, you know?
Right.
Originally. They were trained a couple months for this, but they weren't trained for years and years and years and bred from the time they were born and put into your head, this is what you're good at. Stick with it. This is what your family's good at, and breed you into that, you know what I mean? Mold you from the time you're a kid. Now, I would never do that with my kids, but that's what happened with me. But I would never, they're going to have options, you know. I'm not going to say, hey, you're going to follow Daddy's footsteps. Hell no. Are you insane? People say that. You want your kid's son to go in? Are you crack? Why the hell would I want him to follow? No. I've already should have been dead. I've already died a couple times. Why would I want him to do that?
Right.
Well, you know, you could be proud. No. Have your kid go do it. Oh, well, my kid's going to college. Oh, okay, well.
The whole point is that, so you don't have your kids in something like that. That's why, as adult men, you're in situations like you are. You know, you don't want to necessarily tell your kids when they're young. You can give them stories when they get older and they understand. But
I gotta leave here in a second. Actually, there's something.
Yeah. You do what you need to do. You do what you need to do, man. You don't. You do what you gotta do.
No, I don't. Trust me, I don't feel pressured or nothing. I appreciate everything greatly. Trust me, because I was to a point where I was like, I'm taught to go to certain people when I need help. I'm not the type of guy to ask for help. But when it's stuff like this, who do you go? Everyone I'm going to is like, what? Yeah, and then they're like, you think they're taking you serious, and then out of the blue they'll say something like, well, did he have a jean shirt on or something? Oh, okay, well, maybe I'll catch one and stick it in your bedroom, and you can see for yourself. I almost did that. I almost thought about getting one. I was to a point. I'm not acting arrogant or anything like that. I was to a point at one time when this was really getting heavy.
Mm-hmm.
It's really heavy now, but when it was first starting, I'm like, you know what? I was so pissed off. The first time ever my emotion took over, my anger. Just anger. Just very angry because one of these people, these unknown men in black or whatever the hell they are, and all the women seem to be blonde. That's another weird thing.
Really?
We noticed that. Yeah, we call them robots because all the women seem to be blonde.
That's strange.
Blonde, short hair. Not a ponytail. Blonde, short, down, professional, cut, down to the shoulders. Every single one. In fact, it's just weird, but one of them told me, Sean, it's going to be late. There was another big scene that happened. The neighbor's house got broken into, and it was a Dogman. Broken in there. It ate her dog literally on the floor in the condo. Yeah, blood splattered everywhere. They said somebody was like, stole stuff, killed her dog. And the cops are like, dude, they're telling us. I mean, they're not going to tell us to stay back or something like that. You know, it's not going to happen. No way. So I told them, like, what's going on? They see us jump out of the woods. They're like, what? We tell them what we're doing. And Pop's like, you tell me. I said, what? He goes, there's a dog in there. Looks like it's been split open, eaten, He said, and just like something walked around huge. It's so disgusting how much evidence there is. You got Dogman footprints in dog blood around a white tile kitchen. Come on, it's like, take a picture. I didn't have a camera, nothing. I told the guy, I said, pull your phone out. He's like, I was already told not even to. I said,
really?
Dude.
Interesting.
I said, dude, and this is like, I said, you gotta, and I don't say dude. I said, you gotta take this is kind of what the cop was like. He was like, I was really trying to get him to take a picture. I said, you gotta take a picture. I was almost getting to the point I was getting angry. Well, one of these people showed up, and we're leaving. We're disappearing back into the foliage and everything, basically just disappearing, walking into the tree line.
Right.
And right before I walk in, we hear shuffling to the left of us. Huffing, puffing. Okay, we know what it is. So we see contact left. Switch. Boom. We already know what to do. Everyone's in their position. And my one buddy's like, all right. I'm like, you go. Go. And he already knew. He's running back. He's going to run back and get some stuff. I'm not going to go into all the details, but
sure,
he's going to do some things, and that's what he does. But anyways, this guy goes, in the middle of this, Sean, this is what he says, one of my guys, you're going to be late for your daughter's birthday. That's what he said.
What?
Are you going to be late for your daughter's birthday? And he stops, and he looks at me, like with this, like, terror look in his eyes. I've never seen him look scared. Like scared, and it almost like a look came over him, like sad, like, what did I do to deserve this? I thought we were good, like one of that. I thought we were good guys. What? And he, was getting ahead of himself. I said, dude, just calm down. And I lost it. I'm like, I'll show you. You want a dog, man? I said, come on. You guys are so scared of these things. And I walked out. I got on me and everything. And I walked towards the dog man. And I stood there. Things in the woods. And at this point, he's standing up. The dude's watching. He's like, are you done with your charades? That's what this guy's telling me. You done with your charades? Go ahead. Get closer. That's what he's telling me. I didn't realize how close I was. My buddies had beads, lasers. I could just see lasers going up, I just seen all at once. These lasers turn on, and they're right behind me. The laser, I can see the beam of the laser stopping in my peripheral vision. So that means the thing's breathing on me. You know what I mean? If the laser beam is stopping right next to me, boom, I can see it stopping in the corner of my eye. I know it's there. I can smell it. It's breathing heavy as shit.
Right.
What's that?
I said, yeah, right. So it's how close?
I'm so scared. I wasn't even egotistic. This is stupid, by the way. This is stupid, but this is the point that I kind of had to do to this guy. I had to do it, and I don't think if I wouldn't have done it, I don't think he would have. I think it would have been a lot worse. But he was laughing and shit. He was 20 feet away at this point. He's walking closer, clapping his hands. This is something out of a movie. This is how arrogant this guy is. Clapping his hands and shit. And my buddies look at me and they this confused look. I said, hey, Dogman, this thing's breathing and shit, and it starts moving around. I'm like, this thing's gonna kill me. I wasn't even thinking of that, though. I was too pissed off. I said, this thing takes SWAT. I'm just gonna start going at it. Pull my Bowie knife out, and we're just gonna go to town and get. At least I went down fighting. Whatever. I grabbed this. I got him. He's a chubby guy, right? He's out of shape. He tries to run. That's the best part. He's trying to swat me off, punch me. I said, I got you now. I said, what do you think? Because you're special. You can't die. I said, I'm special too. I drugged the dude over to the Dogman to feed him to the Dogman. And if I would have thrown him to him, it would have eaten him. I know it would have. Because we've thrown food to these things, and I just know it would have. And after all this shit happened, they started leaving animals underneath every time I'd walk. I don't like this. My buddies think it's cool, but I don't like this at all. They're leaving me animals. I think it's that same dog, man. I think, for whatever reason, me doing that and being that close to it, and then me dragging that guy while he's squirming around like a live animal, like a live sacrifice. Like I'm feeding this Dogman. In his mind, I think the Dogman's, look, he's feeding me. He's showing me just like the coyotes bring him food. He's dragging the food over to him. That's what he's thinking in his mind. I know it is. Leaving me food.
Yeah, there was a guy that I interviewed that had an interaction with one, and he lived down in Tennessee, Kentucky, near this river. And he told me, he shared with me, it's on one of the shows, and I just can't remember which episode, but he knew something was around in the evening. He was working in the shop, and he caught a glimpse of something, and it was black. And basically, this thing was leaving him animals in front of his workshop.
I believe it. Yep.
A bobcat, a raccoon, rabbits,
stuff.
and one of them had the heart and liver on top of the animal. And so anyway, so it was like gifting him, and he didn't want his family to see, but he knew something was up. Well, long story short, this thing, he finally approached the edge of that creek bed, and he was staring into the abyss, and he saw this thing at the edge of the down the hill, and it came all the way up into his face. And he looked at this thing, and he just said, I was just in awe of how it was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. He goes, it scared the hell out of me. He goes, I think it was a female in heat.
Yeah.
Yeah. He said, I think this female he goes, I don't know how to say it, Lance. He goes, but I think this female had the hots for me. And I said,
you could be right.
And I said, what? And he said, yeah. He says, I think it did. It was leaving me these he goes, and she had this, it had this pungent smell. It was like a copper nickel smell.
Ooh.
So I was like, I'm listening to this like freaking. I'm like, he said, then it looked at me, and it kind of gave a grin smile, and it took off. It took off. It leaped about 40 feet, and he said, I think it was a she. She looked over her shoulder and looked at me like, see you later, I'll be back or something, and then left.
Wow.
And
I believe it.
And he said it was a green. The eyes were green, like an aqua green or something of that nature. He said it was big. It was big.
Oh yeah, some of them. Oh, when they're that close to you, that it's right in your face. I mean, it's when it was behind me. Here, I could give you an example of how big they are because we were so close together. When it was behind me, I touched it at one point with my left elbow. I know I did. I hit something, and it was like hard but soft, but rough, like rough hair. And I was like, oh. And I'll never forget that. Kind of almost like I wasn't drinking or anything, but I'll say sobered me up from being like angry for a split second. Like, oh shit, what am I doing? I still got kids. Like, whoa, this thing's gonna take me. And my buddies, the lasers were on them. The lasers were up. So when I looked to my left, up like 3 feet is where the lasers were. Big. I'm 6 foot. I'm 6 foot, 6'1". So they're up like 3.5 feet. The lasers are, and they had their lasers on its chest. They told me on its chest. One had one on its head, but the group of them was on his chest. Chest out of its back completely.
Was this the big one, or is this just an average size one?
This is just an average one. That's the thing. And that's the weird thing. But a really weird thing is, I know there's different types. People, you were saying like different types of type 3, type something else. Like one looks like a monkey, one looks like a canine, right?
Yeah.
And there was one time. That's weird. One time where it was just me and one other guy. He was spotting for me, basically. I had the rifle. He was just spotting. He was scanning. We seen something. We thought it was our usual, that's what we thought. But it wasn't. But we couldn't tell. It looked like the monkey one. I mean, there was no pointy ears. It was almost like a fro-shaped head. It's hard to explain. Like a black, round-shaped head, kind of a dog nozzle type deal, but it would look more like a monkey thing. It was weird. And all of a sudden, we heard it got real loud, and the thing must have got chased out. So it must be a different type. And we're like, what the f***? So what is there, like, honestly different types of these things?
Yeah.
It must have smelled one of them in heat and came in. You know, it's a different... what the... Oh, wow.
Well, the most common version that everybody tends to see is this canine version that lets around you. But this other one, I did an interview of a guy that saw this other type, like a hybrid. It's between a canine and like a squatch. And he said it was freaking massive.
Massive. This one was bigger than
the other
Dogman.
Yeah, that's what he said. He said this one had ears. It looked like they weren't pointed, but they were elevated a little bit, and it had a little bit of a snout, but the size of it was like at least a couple hundred more pounds heavier. He said it'd go at least 1,000 pounds.
Oh, definitely. It's like that's just the thing. It was big, and it was like pushing trees and stuff. It wasn't. And we're like, that's a Sasquatch, and we're looking close, and we're like, no, it isn't. There's no way. There's been too many eyewitnesses of what Sasquatch looks like in that face, and if you look closer, you start seeing claws. There's no way. And it was just, I mean, that thing, I don't know. I don't know what they did with it. I don't know if that's like a certain type that's I don't know, that's related to them. But he came through, and I don't know if those ones are solitary to where the canine ones are in groups. They're always in groups. That's another thing. I'll tell you right now. There's very rarely that they're solitary. If you see one, there's a whole bunch. Guaranteed. Stick around long enough, and you will see there will be more than one. And they like to, don't mimic, but they also like to confuse. It's weird, because they could just kill whatever they want, but they still do like what wolves do, which shows me, too, that they're not as smart as people think, but they're smarter than what people think, because they're still acting off of the wolf part of their brain, and they're using one to cut me off and the other one to flank me, when really they don't realize that they're so strong and big. Some of them do, the older ones, that they could just dispatch me easily without, and they still are going to do that. They're still going to flank me when they're chasing us. They're still going to do that. When they chased us for 4 miles one time, through swamps, through all kinds of shit. It was the middle of August. It was terrible. And we would shoot a couple times, poo, 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 and it was fog all around us. Fog. I mean, that made it 20 times worse. We couldn't see. They would run in, boom, boom, and then fly away, like fly out. But they were staying like out enough to where we couldn't really see them. You know what I mean?
Right.
Run in, and you heard lots. I remember my one buddy looked. He goes, "What? What is it? An army of them?" You just heard it sound like so many. And then when we would keep walking, it's like when we would walk, they would move. It's almost like they were just hovering around us in a circle. And when we walk, they'd move. And while we're walking, we're stepping over shit. We're stepping over these huge footprints that are dug 4 inches in the ground,
Well,
4 inches down.
Did you see the prints that we had on that last show?
What's that?
Did you see that last show we had that showed the prints and the size of our hand next to the print?
Yeah, I did.
In your opinion, is your opinion
Yep.
of that?
Yeah, that's identical. That's probably almost identical.
Now the sand, I don't think gave it justice, because I think a lot of sand went back into the track. But when I was measuring those things,
sand, and I knew that right away. I'm like, a lot of that sand is going to fall back in when he pushes down. When he pushes off,
But
it's going to fall back in.
I couldn't see how this one. I was trying to look for their upper body print. I couldn't see any other tracks as if they were on 4s. All I saw was if it looked like it was bipedal.
Yep, on 2. And a lot of times they'll do that. They also walk in. They're smart, very smart. They'll walk in those same tracks, especially in the snow, They'll walk in the same tracks like a mountain lion will. Mountain lions will walk in the same tracks. These things are very smart, but they'll even walk backwards. Oh, yeah. They're smart.
What?
Oh, yeah. They'll walk backwards. You'll see footprints moving forward to a tree, and they'll just disappear. Then you'll see, okay, they climbed up the tree, jumped 4 trees over, slid back down, and started walking again. I'm guessing to take us off. And they scratch just like grizzly bears. They will pick a tree. They each have favorite trees and scratch their back against the tree, up and down, up and down. I mean, real hard. Like all of their favorite trees, and you'll find clumps, huge clumps of hair. I don't know how many things of hair I've sent in. Things of hair I've sent into scientist labs and shit. They never call me. Never.
Oh, really?
Never. It's amazing. I even told them. I even had to pull some strings one time and like tell them that this is like very important. You need to get it in right now. This is from superiors. This is what you got to do. I called back, and I was in so disbelief. This was at the beginning, because we weren't sure what they were. And when I called back, they said, "We have no idea what you're talking about." I'm sorry. What was that again? Maybe I can look it up. They just kept giving me the runaround.
Really?
I said, are you kidding me?
Someone intercepted that.
Oh, yeah. Yep. All of it. Every one of it. So anything that was leaving that place is going to a special area, a special truck, a special place. You know, that's where it's going.
Wow.
Yeah.
So getting back, you said if you see one, then there are others in the area. Bet on it.
Always. Always. At least in twos. They like to run in twos, especially young males. You would think young males would run by themselves, but they won't, because the big ones will just tear them up. But 2 young males can take down, are better off. They can share a bitch compared to fighting the big boy and getting killed. But they might be able to take the big guy out, 2 of them. And the big guy might just say, "Screw that! I don't want to die. It's not worth it. He's a banger," and they'll run away. And then those 2 males, though, they'll fight. Sometimes they won't, though. Like if they're brothers, I'm thinking if they're brothers. Lions, I've seen this in Africa lots of times. And the Aboriginals would tell me this. If they're brothers, they'll walk in 2. If they're brothers, they'll walk in 2s. Every time. If you see a single lion, that means, he's a male. He's out there looking for a bride. But if you see 2 single lions that are young, they're brothers. Because that's it. There's no other reason why they'd be going together. But a lot of times, with the Dogmen, they'll always run together. Seems like always. Seems like if you look for tracks, look for more tracks to the side of that one. Like if you go left or right, sometimes 200-300 yards, you'll find exact same footprints going the exact same way. Like there's one way over there walking the exact same way. I mean, we almost got it down to like, not a science, because we would never even come close to, because right when you think you know something, this is how it is, right when you think you get close, and you do something, they throw you a curveball. And you say, what the, why?
Mm-hmm.
How? Weird.
Do the females
get very angry at, like, let's see, what was it? It was either some kind of, whatever citrus. I don't think they like citrus. I mean, angry, because it was either an orange or a grapefruit fruit that was in that Mexican kid's little Honda car that one kept going into his lunch.
Yeah.
And it would piss it off. So either it would spray it, it just didn't like the taste. And I know a Dogman can take, I've seen these things eat. I've seen one of them have a beehive, a bald-faced hornet beehive, white-faced hornets. We have them in here, real big. They have the big, usually on the side of houses and stuff.
Yeah.
People call them paper wasps too, but they're actually not paper wasps. They're bald-faced hornets. Very bad. And I seen one eating one. We're all looking, and we're like, look at that. What the? If that ain't up, and my buddy goes, where's the honey? I said, they're wasps. He goes, wasp. I said, yeah, there's no honey. He's like, so he's just eating the paper and or whatever it is, and the bees. These bees are flying around stinging the shit out of them. You get stung by 3 bald-faced hornets in your chest, it doesn't matter if you're allergic. You get stung by 3 of them, 1, 2, 3. One, 3 times in the chest, you have to go to the hospital because you're automatically going to start, wheezing. You'll have to get an antihistamine, and it doesn't matter if you're allergic or not, because that's just how bad they are.
Wow.
Especially with kids, yeah.
That's incredible.
They're all over the United States, so you got to watch. A lot of people are undereducated about them. And
these are like yellow jacket wasps?
Yeah, they're on the side of the big cones on the side of trees and houses. Yeah, they're wasps, and the only reason I know all this is because I took an etymologist, a man who studies like bugs.
Yes. That's
all he studies, and they're weird people. They live for bugs. In fact, they have pet bed bugs and stuff, and they let them feed off their own. And they're weird people. They call them their babies. You go into their house, and they have a multi-million-dollar mansion. It's filled with tarantulas. You go into their room, and they got weird bugs from all over the world in glass jars alive. Next to his bed, they're weird. So he told me all kinds of stuff. When I took him to South America, he needed, security and stuff. When I took him, he was telling me all kinds of stuff about them. The bald-faced hornets, and people are undereducated. They think I grew up my entire life seeing them. No, you didn't. These haven't been here since 1991 they came to America. They accidentally brought them over from Spain. There's a similar hornet that does a similar thing, but it's not as big. People get that mixed up, and they try to get up there every year, and just spray it, hit it down at night. Next thing you know, they get stung by 1 or 2, and they're like, can't breathe.
Right.
My arm's going. Imagine 100 of them,
Do you think that these dogmen, do they have scouts that go out?
Definitely. Yeah, there's different ones. That's for sure. We haven't figured out the whole hierarchy thing, but there's definitely a system, because some of them this one seems to always come, it's like the skinny fast one. It always comes in early. It just comes in close. It never gets too close, and it bolts. After it comes, the other ones are going to start slowly coming in. You'll start hearing noises. You might hear barks, and then it'll get dead silent, real silent, and then it'll start up. But I got to go here. I was going to ask if you, maybe we could talk again.
You shoot me a text when's good, and I'll be there.
All right, brother. Hey, God bless you, and I appreciate everything you did, listening and everything.
Absolutely. Thank you for the knowledge. I'm just soaking it in. I'll let you go. Be safe, and I'll just wait for the text for next week or so, or just whenever.
All right, brother. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Take care,
have
man.
A good one, man.
You too.
Have a good night.
Now, this was done last year, this interview, and I waited a while. I'm going to recontact this gentleman and see if we can reconnect again and find out just kind of an update on if he's still at that particular location. Is he continuing to see these creatures, and just what has he learned? Hopefully get an update and find out what he knows, what's happened. This particular interview, I'm just going to do a follow-up here, just kind of a synopsis. I found it very, very interesting because this was the first time that I was able to communicate with someone that had direct knowledge of someone seeing these creatures daily. If not daily, at least every other day, definitely on a weekly basis. And they had seen them so frequently, some of his colleagues had named them, but they noticed repeated patterns of how they did things, what they ate, speed, strength, how they almost looked like they killed to show their strength and their agility. And they're very intelligent, of course, throughout this whole series that you've been listening to. But yet there's parts of them, as he said during this episode, where they behave wolf in nature or canine in nature. There's parts of them that go into this canine wolf dog mode, and it's a normal behavior. But then how they think and being able to walk backwards in their tracks, and climb trees and go through the trees, and then looks like they just stop at a tree, and then they'll climb through 4 trees and then come out on another tree so he can evade or lose someone that's tracking them. I mean, that takes a high degree of intelligence that you wonder just, how much do they know? And, the bigger question is, how do they know this? Where did they get this intelligence? And so this was a very interesting interview. Most of the interviews is sightings. This is what I saw. It was frightening. It was canine. It's what you guys are calling a dogman. And, it's frightening. And the circumstance, people shooting at them and them not going down. But this particular series, they were watching them open car doors. There couldn't be nothing else. They saw them scale these fences and actually go over concertina wire. And he said in one of the episodes that if it wanted to get through your brick wall of your home, of a standard home, it could easily go through that. It would have to be a reinforced wall. So, when I hear this, and when we've gone out, it definitely makes me rethink a little bit of the steps and the contingency plans that we have when we want to go out and call these. Because here's the thing, you never know when they're going to come out. And you never know if one's going to come out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and that could be a problem. So some of you that are listening, I know you're intrigued and you want to go out and you want to investigate these creatures. I'm going to say, really think twice about that. These things are totally different than Bigfoot type creature. That Bigfoot can actually have some level of unknowing. It's spontaneous, but it's still a wild being. It's a wild creature. You can't predict it. That's what I'm trying to say. But especially that we understand these dogman creatures. So many people out there, well, I'm going to go and I'm going to go shoot one and I'm going to take it to a lab and I'm going to be famous. It really doesn't work that way, folks. It doesn't work that way. First of all, you're dealing more. It's not only this group or pack that they're in do you have to contend with, and how you're even going to get it aboard a trailer and or a truck without possibly losing life and limb yourself. If there's more than one, which he said, there's always plan on it. When there's one, count on there's another one. And if you think they're going to let you take a friend or a member of their family, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Then the second thing you have to contend with, as if that wasn't bad enough, is these government boys after you. Now, there's been some episodes that I've done. I have no earthly idea how these people knew. How they knew before I even aired a story, how these people, now they could have, of course, gone through the phone, but how they knew, the eyewitness saw something, and then they were being visited at their house or their place of business, and this person never told anyone yet. So that's always baffled me, how these government boys know, these men in black know where to go with these creatures. For a period, I thought they were, maybe, it's far-fetched, that maybe for a time period I thought maybe these things are chipped. Maybe they're chipped. And if they get too close to a population or something, then they're in that area. So it's plausible. I can't rule it out, can't rule it in. It's kind of one of those things, right? But all I can say is that these MIBs, they definitely get their pants in a bind when you start dealing with these dogman creatures. Bigfoot, it's kind of old hat, but if you encounter one or it attacks you or you shoot one, yeah, they'll get involved. Trust me, they'll get involved. But if you see one, they won't do anything. But you see a dogman and they know who you are and they know where to find you, they'll be knocking at your door. They'll be knocking at your door. Hey, we hear you have a problem. I don't have a problem. We hear you have a problem. Who are you? We hear you have a problem, sir. So they're really not there to help you. They're there to interrogate you and tell you to keep your mouth shut. So that's why I say, if you see one, or let's just get right to it, if you shoot one, intentionally, unintentionally, you hit one with a car or whatever, there's a couple of options. And I get this all the time, so I'm just going to go through it. I tell people, look, you have a couple of options. Number one, you just leave it. Leave it where it lay and get out of there. That's an option. It may not be the option for everybody, but that's option A. Option B, you could call someone like us. Let us know. And if that's the case, then we will make our way down there, make some, record some data points, and make sure, get some documentation, right? That's what we want. Then we'll deal with it from there. And then we're not going to say anything, you're not going to say anything. Another option is, well, and this is not the safest option, of course, is you try to take this creature yourself. You try to take it to a cooler or whatever. I don't recommend that option because, like I said, where there's one, there's another. And in most of the interviews in which one was down or injured, there's usually one seen taking the other out of dragging it. So that tells me right there, they're not going to go quietly and they're not going to want you to mess with their family member or friend. I just don't see that happening. So I would go with the safest route, which is either just do nothing. You can call us, tell us what happened, and then let us contend with it. Or you just say nothing at all. Hey, I hit something that's scary. I left it out there. I'm not going back. But this is what happened. So it's one of those things. But be careful who you tell. I will say that. Be careful who you tell. So there's probably about 10 more different options you could do in there, but I'm just saying what are the most logical. You just got to be careful when you go out. And you just can't, if you're a great hunter or coyote hunter, this is different. You may be a great hunter, but your animals typically that you're hunting don't think back at you and try to circle around. Some do, like grizzly bears, some of the Kodiaks, mountain lions do. They'll come in from the backside. African animals like your lions, they'll come in, circle you, jaguars, things like that are kind of exotic game. But here in North America, you don't have anything that can think on its feet and climb the trees, that operate in a pack and have diversions that can be used against you. That's the scary part. That's why I say you got to think like they do. And that's what these shows are. They're intended to inform, to help us all become better informed, not to necessarily go out and be a dogman hunter or anything like that, but be a better investigator. And here's the other thing. So, maybe thinking, Lance, why do I need to know this? I'll probably never encounter one. Well, you don't know that. Because if you're an investigator and you're out Bigfoot investigating, who's to say that you couldn't run into one of these things? You don't get an option what you're going to run into when you're out in the woods. This is why we say you should always, always be carrying some means of protection. We do firearms. That may not be someone's cup of tea somewhere else, but a firearm is better than a stick, right? And a stick is better than nothing. So, you never know. I was out in the deer hunting this weekend, and I was, my dad and a friend of my brother's, we were talking around a table, and we were talking about people that had, my dad was talking about just being at the park, and he was attacked by 5 feral dogs that was in the park. He turned around, and lo and behold, he turned around, and there was 5 different breeds of dogs all growling at him at the same time. And luckily my dad carries a firearm, and it had snake shot in it, and unfortunately he had to kill all 5 dogs because they were getting ready to attack. They were feral. They had already attacked some other people, and he had to eliminate them. So this happens. So what if you had 5 feral dogs in the woods, or 5 wolves? They could be a human, or it doesn't matter. So you just always want to have a backup plan. You always want to think ahead of time. What's in this area? What, in its worst case scenario, what would I encounter? How would I deal with it? What would I use? How do I communicate to other people that know that I'm here. If I'm not back at a certain time, did I give them a location where to find me? Do I have a CB or a means or a walkie-talkie that I can communicate? Do I have a GPS finder that actually can send out an SOS? So you think, I know some of this costs money. I realize that, but a lot of it doesn't. It's just communication with people that you're going with. I don't recommend going out investigating by yourself. I really don't. When I investigate, I don't go by myself. I'll go with the brothers. Now, when I'm going hunting, especially this weekend, no one else was bow hunting, but they knew exactly where I was at, and we talked about what time I was going to get back. Now, could I have encountered a pack of dogs or something? Sure. But I had 2 sidearms, and I had 2 knives, and I had my bow. I had a walkie-talkie. Excuse me, I had a walkie-talkie, and then I had a cell phone that was charged. I had my map and I had my compass, means to start a fire, food, water. I had a first aid kit, and I have all kinds of other stuff there. So I'm kind of loaded when I go out, because you never know what can happen, right? So I don't want to ramble on here, but I did want to give just a little bit of a synopsis of this whole encounter and how wonderful it was, and bizarre and exciting and intriguing and terrifying this was to learn what this guy had to say. I do believe 100% of what he was saying. He never once hesitated. He was very matter of fact, as you heard, very direct at what it was just, yep, been there, done that. And this is what I saw. Boom, 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 boom. This is what it did. Boom, 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 boom. Don't know why, but this is what it did. Boom, 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 boom. So he didn't give an and that was a key feature. I was listening for explanations, and he really didn't give any, which was great, because when someone starts saying, yeah, I did this because it did this and this, it's hungry. Well, maybe, but you can't jump into its mind. But if you just start saying what happened, and that you noticed this, and it did that, and that's different. And that's what I heard all the time from this guy. So I did find him very credible, matter of fact, just down to earth. I do believe this guy 100%. He wasn't trying to pull my leg. He was sincere. At times, I do apologize. It got muffled quite a bit. But he had a phone that was on. I can envision. He had it on his shoulder, and he was trying to turn and looking at monitors. He was always working when he was talking to me, so I appreciated that. And so I do apologize. It was kind of bad on sound quality here and there, but you definitely got the gist of it, and I do apologize for some of the language, but I let him speak freely, as I let many others. I let people speak freely, speak their mind. That was what he was used to, and so who am I to change what he's used to? So anyway, it was very, very interesting. I am going to try to make contact with him again. It's been over a year. I wanted to just kind of lay low and let things kind of calm down a little bit. I didn't want him to get in any reprimand for anything, so I just kind of wanted things to kind of go dark for a while. So I'm looking forward into reconnecting with him and seeing what's going on, and as I do, you guys will know.